Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Microsoft Knowledge Nuggets here on M365 FM. I'm your host, Merco Peters. Today, we're tackling something everyone building with AI has heard of, but almost nobody can explain in plain English. It's the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. Picture this. You're in Teams, and you ask your AI assistant a simple question like, "What's the status of the Johnson project?" And it replies, "I'm sorry, I can't access that information." Sound familiar? The AI is smart, the model is powerful, but it can't see your data. It's disconnected from the systems where your actual work lives. That's the core problem MCP solves. By the end of this episode, you'll understand what MCP actually is, why it matters for anyone using Microsoft 365, and how it's changing what AI can do for you. We'll break this down into building blocks, the problem, the solution, how it works, and what it means inside Microsoft. So let's start with the problem, because you've probably felt it yourself. The problem. Every AI tool had to be custom built. Before MCP existed, if you wanted an AI assistant to do something useful, check your calendar, pull a file from SharePoint, look up a customer record in Dynamics, you had to write custom code for each one. Every single connection, every single data source, separate code. Here's the thing. Every system speaks its own API language. Your calendar uses one format, SharePoint uses another, Dynamics uses yet another. Different authentication, different rules, different ways of asking for data and getting it back. If you wanted your AI to talk to 3 systems, you built 3 custom connectors. Think of it this way. Imagine you're in your living room with a TV, a stereo, and smart lights. Each one comes with its own remote control, and none of those remotes work with any other device. You need the TV remote for the TV, the stereo remote for the stereo, and a separate app for the lights. That's what AI development looked like before MCP. Every tool needed its own custom integration. For Microsoft users, this hits close to home. Think about what Copilot wants to do when you ask it a question. It might check your Exchange calendar for meetings, read recent emails from a specific client, or look up a customer record in Dynamics. That's 3 different API connections, 3 separate integrations, each requiring custom development work. The result? Most AI tools took the easy path and stayed generic. You'd ask a question about your own work, and the AI would say, I can't access that data, or I need you to configure a connection first. Real integration meant expensive custom development, and most organizations never got there. Now, here's the key piece. The large language model itself is incredibly powerful. It can reason, summarize, generate, and analyze, but without access to your actual data, it's blind. It's like having the world's smartest assistant locked in a room with no windows and no phone. They can think brilliantly, but they can't help you with anything real. The solution, MCP as the universal plug. So what if there was one universal plug? One standard way to connect any AI to any data source without writing custom code for each connection? Here's the thing. That's exactly what the Model Context Protocol does. MCP for short. Anthropic, the company behind Claude, introduced it in late 2024, and it caught on quickly. MCP is an open standard that defines one consistent way for AI applications to talk to tools and data sources. Think of it like USB-C for AI. Before USB-C, every device needed its own special cable. Your phone used one kind, your laptop another, and your headphones a third. You had a drawer full of cables and could never find the right one. Then USB-C came along. One cable, one standard, and everything just works. MCP does the same thing for AI connections. One protocol works for databases, file systems, web APIs, and yes, even Microsoft services. Instead of building custom connectors for every data source, you build one MCP server and any compatible AI application can use it. Adoption happened fast. Within months, thousands of pre-built MCP servers appeared for Google Drive, GitHub, Slack, and databases like PostgreSQL and SQLite. And for Microsoft users, this is where it gets really interesting. Your AI tools can now connect to SharePoint, Exchange, Dynamics, and Power Platform all through the same standard interface. Here's the bottom line. You don't build custom connections anymore. You plug into MCP, one protocol, any data source, any AI application. That's the magic of it. The architecture, host, client, and server. So how does this actually work behind the scenes? Let me break it down. MCP uses a simple 3-part setup: host, client, and server. Once you understand those 3 pieces, the whole thing clicks. The host is the AI application you're actually using. That could be Copilot in Microsoft 365, Claude Desktop, or a custom agent you built yourself. The host is where you ask your question. It's the user-facing part. Inside that host lives something called the MCP client. This is the part that speaks the MCP protocol. You don't see it or interact with it directly, but it's the translator, the piece that knows how to talk to MCP servers. Then you have the server. The MCP server is a lightweight program that sits between your AI application and your actual data source. It exposes tools and resources that the AI can use. The server knows how to reach your SharePoint site, your Exchange mailbox, your Dynamics database. The AI doesn't need to know any of those details. It just talks to the server. Here's how the data flows. When you ask your AI a question, the request goes from the host to the MCP client. The client sends a message through the MCP protocol to the server. The server reaches into your data source, gets what you need, and sends it back. Host to client to protocol to server to your data. Clean, simple, and standardized. Think of it like a restaurant. The host is you sitting at the table, the MCP client is the waiter who takes your order and brings it to the kitchen, and the MCP server is the kitchen itself. You don't need to know how the kitchen works. You just tell the waiter what you want, and the food appears. One host can connect to multiple servers at the same time. So your AI in Teams could reach your SharePoint documents, your Exchange calendar, and your Dynamics records all in one conversation. The communication between client and server uses something called JSON RPC. Just a lightweight, standardized way to send messages back and forth. No heavy overhead, no custom wiring. What MCP servers contain? Tools, resources, and prompts. So what does an MCP server actually give the AI when they connect? Three things: tools, resources, and prompt templates. Think of them as the toolkit the AI reaches into when it needs to get something done. Let's break that down in plain English. First, tools. Tools are actions the AI can take that actually change stuff in the real world. A tool might search a database, shoot off an email, or create a document. Every time the AI calls a tool, something happens. A file gets saved, a message gets sent, a record gets updated. Tools are the verbs of the system. They're what makes things happen. Now, resources. Resources are read-only information the AI can look at. A resource could be a customer list from Dynamics, a policy document sitting in SharePoint, or meeting notes from Teams. The AI can read them, analyze them, reference them, but it can't modify them directly through a resource. They just give the AI the context it needs to work smarter. Then you've got prompt templates. These are pre-built instructions that save you time. Instead of crafting the perfect prompt every single time, the server hands you one that's already optimized. For example, a SharePoint MCP server might include a template for summarizing folder contents. You just say, summarize this folder, and the template handles the rest. It's like having a specialized shortcut for the stuff you do over and over. Here's a concrete example to tie it together. Imagine a SharePoint MCP server. It offers a tool called Search Documents that finds files by keyword. It offers a resource called List Sites that gives read-only access to all available SharePoint sites. And it includes a prompt template called Summarize Folder Contents that tells the AI exactly how to present a clean summary. Everything the AI needs to help you with SharePoint is right there in one place. Now here's the cool part. The AI discovers all of this automatically when it connects to the server. No pre-programming required. The server basically announces itself, here are my tools, my resources, my prompt templates, and the AI figures out how to use them. That's what makes MCP powerful. The server tells the AI what's possible, and the AI handles the rest. It's a self-describing system. These three categories work together so the AI has a complete picture of what it can do. MCP meets Microsoft, what's already here. So let's bring this into the Microsoft world. This is where it gets real for anyone using Microsoft 365 or Azure. Let's clear up a common myth right now. Some people think MCP is just a side experiment for Microsoft. It's not. It's a strategic direction. You can see this clearly in Azure AI Agent Service. If you're building custom AI agents on Azure, you can now add remote MCP servers directly from within Azure AI Foundry. You configure a server label, a URL, and optional authentication headers, and your agent can start calling tools from that server. Microsoft's own documentation calls it a first-class integration. That's not side project language. But it goes deeper than just Azure. Microsoft has published official MCP server references for the Power Platform, including Power Automate, Power Apps, and even Process Mining. These aren't community projects. They're straight from Microsoft. Take the Power Apps MCP server. It includes a tool called Invoke Data Entry. Here's what that means in practice. An AI can take unstructured input, like an email, a chat message, or a scanned document, and turn it into a structured record in Dataverse. The AI proposes the record, and you approve it. Human in the loop built right in. The Power Automate MCP server takes this even further. You describe a workflow in plain English. Something like, when a new email arrives with urgent in the subject, create a task in Planner and notify my manager. The AI builds that flow for you. No dragging and dropping connectors, no searching for triggers. Just describe what you want and the MCP server translates it into an actual automation. Microsoft has also shown MCP servers for Microsoft Learn content. Imagine an AI agent that queries the entire Microsoft documentation library as a resource, not scraping web pages, but through a structured MCP server that exposes documentation as structured data. That's already working today. This is the direction your Microsoft tools are heading. They're becoming MCP accessible by design. The platform is opening up, and as it does, your Microsoft 365 experience will only get smarter. The integration is happening now, and it's built into the foundation. MCP is not just for developers, it's for anyone who uses Microsoft 365 and wants their AI to work seamlessly with their data. A real scenario, the AI that finally works. So, what does this actually look like in practice? Let me walk through a real example. You're sitting in Microsoft Teams, and you type this into Copilot. What's the status of the Acme project, and who's behind on their tasks? You hit enter. Now, behind the scenes, something different happens than it would have a year ago. Your AI assistant connects to an MCP server linked to Project Online or Planner. That server advertises the tools it can use, Things like list tasks, get task status, check assignments, and get project timeline. The AI doesn't need any handholding here. It discovers those tools automatically because the server literally says, here's what I can do, and the AI replies, great, I'll use that. No one has to say, hey, go look at this API endpoint first. It just works. So the AI calls the list tasks tool, then get task status for each task, then check assignments. The MCP server handles all the authentication and data fetching behind the scenes. A few seconds later, the AI comes back with a clean response. The Acme project is on track. There are 3 tasks overdue, all assigned to Sarah. Would you like me to send her a reminder? Here's what's important. No custom code was written for this query. No developer spent 2 weeks building a connector between Copilot and Project Online. The MCP server handled the entire integration. One server, one standard protocol, and the AI knew exactly how to use it. Now let's take it further. After getting the project status, you ask, check my calendar for a meeting with Sarah tomorrow, and draft a status update based on what's happening. The AI uses an Exchange MCP server to check your calendar, searches related emails through the same server, and then calls a Word MCP server to draft the update. One conversation, multiple data sources, 0 custom development. That's the aha moment with MCP. It makes the AI useful inside your actual work environment, not just a generic chatbot that can only answer broad questions, but an assistant that sees your data, understands your context, and takes action, all through one simple standard. Security, keeping your data safe. All that flexibility raises a big question. If your AI can suddenly reach into SharePoint, Exchange, and Dynamics through MCP, how do you keep that data safe? Here's the short answer. MCP is as secure as you make it. The protocol doesn't bypass your existing security measures. It works with them. MCP supports OAuth 2.1, the same industry standard authentication that protects your Microsoft login. When an MCP server requires authentication, your AI client has to prove it's authorized before it can access any data. Servers can use authentication headers, API keys, or token-based access, the same patterns you already use for securing APIs. But there's an extra layer that really matters for enterprise use. The AI has to ask for permission first. Before it can actually run a search, send a message, or modify a record, it asks you. You see the request right in your chat interface. You review what the tool will do, and you approve or deny it. That means no tool gets invoked without your explicit consent. Your AI can suggest actions, but it can't execute them without you saying yes. That's a good safety net. One thing to watch out for. Thousands of public MCP servers are available, and not all of them are trustworthy. There are public registries where anyone can publish a server. Some are excellent, some are not. The responsibility is on you to use servers you trust. In Microsoft environments, you have an advantage. Your MCP servers can use the same identity and access controls as your existing Microsoft services. If a user doesn't have permission to read a SharePoint document library, an MCP server can't bypass that. The server inherits the same boundaries, same authentication, same policies, same governance. Getting started, your first MCP experience. So you're convinced and want to try this yourself. Where do you start? The easiest way is to pick an MCP-compatible host. Claude Desktop has built-in MCP support, and GitHub Copilot works too. Both let you plug in servers with almost no setup. Next, check out the public MCP registries. There are thousands of pre-built servers for services like Google Drive, Slack, databases, file systems, and yes, Microsoft services too. If you're a Microsoft user, start with Microsoft's own MCP server references for Power Platform. The setup is simple. Most hosts use a JSON file where you list your servers. You give each one a name, provide the command or URL to reach it, and configure any authentication credentials. That's it, and the host handles the rest. No coding required for basic usage, so you don't need to be a developer or write any integration code. Just configure a JSON file, and suddenly your AI can access data it couldn't touch before. The JSON file is like a configuration file that tells your host which servers to connect to. Think of MCP as a universal translator for your AI. Instead of learning a different language for every service, it speaks one protocol. Start small by connecting one data source, like your calendar, through an Exchange MCP server. Then ask your AI a question about your schedule and watch how it discovers the available tools. Test the human-in-the-loop approval, which means you get to approve each action before the AI takes it. That keeps you in control. Make sure you understand the security model before expanding. Once you're comfortable, expand by adding another server for your document library, then your task management system. Each server adds new capabilities, and each one follows the same protocol. If you want to build your own MCP server, maybe to expose a custom business application or an internal database, Microsoft's Azure Functions work great as a backend. You wrap your existing API or data source in an MCP server with just a few lines of code. The pattern is simple. Expose tools as functions, expose data as resources, and let the protocol handle the rest. It's a straightforward way to give your AI access to your own data sources. So that's the Model Context Protocol, one standard that finally lets AI tools reach your real data. Your SharePoint files, your Exchange calendar, your Dynamics records. Before MCP, you had to build custom connections for every system. Now you plug into one protocol and your AI can talk to all of them. The AI becomes useful inside your actual work environment. This isn't just a convenience, it changes how you work with AI. Start with one MCP server, connect a single data source, and see the difference for yourself. If you found this helpful, share it with a colleague who's struggling with AI that can't access their data. Subscribe for more knowledge nuggets like this one. I'm Merco Peters, and I'll see you in the next episode.